Right,
now you check that you're getting him on your phone, and then we know we're operating.
I think we are this time.
Are we operating?
Waiting. Yeah, it looks like it's live. We just have to wait for a second.
Okay. My tea.
One waiting. That's probably me. And it says waiting. Please watch the match.
So we have to press. What do we have to do?
Nothing at the moment. Just let me for this. Oh yeah. Here you go. Still live.
There's one there. Yes. One person.
Yeah, me.
All right.
Okay, Piers, you're a TV star.
Well, we've got 3,000 members, but only one watching now. Okay.
Well, it takes a while for them to.
Well, 1.5 on it.
Yeah, okay. If anyone else comes on.
Yeah, give them a sec.
Oh, there's 3 now.
Wow.
Hello, people. We're just waiting for a few more to come on, and then we'll start. Thank you very much. Today is the 21st of March, and we're getting ready for a very exciting election time. There's not many watching. But anyhow, we could start in a minute. What's this day down there? Welcome to live chat. Remember to guard your privacy. Oh, El Bugo. Hi again, Piers. I see that. Hello. Well, does anyone want to put in a question? Type in a question. There's 4 now.
Questions?
There's no questions yet. No, it's high again.
Okay. Give us a thumbs up. I'll chuck you one.
Yeah, we could do that. We could do with a cup of tea. Anyway.
Cup of tea, yeah, I get you on.
All right. 7 now. There's 7. So I'm going to be asked some questions by Victor here. He's our questioner.
Hi, Piers.
Yes.
There's been expectations that Keir Starmer and his Blairite Labour name-only party will do something to bring about peace in Palestine. Given Blairite history of bombing Muslims, having them on torture renditions, propaganda about you need to deal with them in Iraq to stop a chain of terror reaching here in the UK, which seems to be code for saying that you've got to kill the Muslims while they're kids before they grow up into adult terrorists.
Yeah.
Is it really realistic to expect hard-right war criminal collaborators to not be anything other than delighted that the Zionists are now continuing the work they started in the Iraq War?
Well, that's a long question, but of course it lays the foundation for what I would indeed have said. Yes, anything about peace that these people bring about is a pause to enable them to regroup and carry on killing, in my opinion. I mean, it's been appalling. Look, in my mayor candidacy, I'm standing for real peace. And this means a end of all the bombings and killings, and of course the United Nations should be overseeing such a thing, but they're doing essentially nothing. Now the question comes, how could, as mayor, could we do something to bring about peace? And the answer is, first of all, me being elected as mayor, as Peace Now London, would have a tremendous impact around the whole Middle East, indeed the world. And then we bring forward practical things. See, what the message we're making is that governments around the world are having war on carbon dioxide. Well, fine. Well, I don't agree with it. It's insane. But, if you believe that, surely one ought to also accept that war is a bigger danger to human race than extra carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide is the gas of life. But leaving aside what you think about it, peace now must be something more important than carbon dioxide. Now, they are imposing laws and taxation against carbon dioxide. Well, we should also impose laws and taxation against wars and the warmongers. So, as mayor, we would introduce a system to license warmongers if they have to pay to operate in London, and therefore take pressure against them, make it unprofitable. You see, the mayor can license taxis and de-license them and charge them if they don't comply. So there are measures, you see, we'd go for practical measures against wars. That's an example. Obviously, we would support other initiatives, whatever the Mayor of London can do. Peace initiatives anywhere, whatever. And as for the future of what happens in the Middle East, look, the first thing is you have to stop fighting and have conferences. Now, people ask me, do you believe in two-state solution or a united whatever of the whole area? Well, that has to be resolved by people locally, but we believe in self-determination. So if people in Gaza want to be separate, then they can be separate. So there we are. I think that probably answers that question. But a thing you might be interested in is what is happening around the world. There's something very strange going on. What does it mean when Obama turned up? Appeared just a few days ago. Now, what is that about? It wasn't prepared. So the World Economic Forum is worried about what is going on. What could come out of it? Well, it could be they'll have a planned pandemic, a new one, getting ready soon. And the World Health Organization will then have to act on disease X and then call on governments to have some sort of lockdown. That's one option, and he might have been here talking about that. Or it might be fitting into the narrative which Labour and Tories are going for during this GLA election, the mayoral elections, and during the coming general election. Namely, they're trying to make a division between Muslims and various associates, ethnic minorities, and the rest. And they're talking about this a lot. And of course, we stand for everybody's rights. However, the powers that be haven't got far enough, and there, I think, in order to push this forward. Otherwise, George Galloway wouldn't have won. I mean, George Galloway made it clear where he stood on these issues and won an election. It doesn't mean it's going to happen everywhere because, people's understanding of these things is uneven around the country. But they want to do something to make things worse. Now, we've had a lot of false flags. October the 7th was a false flag. I mean, as far as one can see, just look at it. It was the people were let, the soldiers, Hamas soldiers, whatever they were let in and let out again with hostages. And there was killings. IDF killed its own people as well, whatever going on. There were killings. And they were then an excuse for the massacre and genocide now. So they could do something similar in Britain, but not that sort of scale, but anything to create a division and a hate between the two groups. And it could well be that a fire or something, a fire in a mosque will turn up, and then we'll be told things are getting very dangerous. They'll have martial law or another lockdown, things like that, and even call off the election. Think about that. I mean, so many things could happen. So that's what I would say, and there may be some more questions. If I can't read the questions there. If Keith,
Yep.
do you want to read out some questions?
Well, somebody was asking with regards if you could put your bank details down so that they can donate to you. They can't put it in the comments. So if you could write it
Excellent.
down.
Money. Yes, people. Look, the mayor campaign, as we're going around collecting signatures, you know, people are coming up to us. So there are a lot of people coming up to us who are not voting and don't believe in voting, but they suddenly want to vote. Well, that's the difficulty. But we are getting a lot of support, and we're asking for very important donations. Look, whatever we do,
Details on it.
yeah. Whatever we do requires a lot of money. The best way to give money is to go on our donor box. The donor box link is on Peace Now London Telegram group. Peace Now London Telegram group. And otherwise, the bank details, which if you want to put directly into the bank account. And look, frankly, guys, we need another. Well, we need 25,000 quid. 25 times 2. 25,000 quid is you needed to stand and get in the election book, which is 10,000, and be on the list for the list vote to get into the GLA if as on the list candidate. So I could be elected as mayor, then people on our list of candidates could also get in. And if I'm not elected as mayor, I could get in on the list. But we are aiming to win, and I'll tell you how we can do that in a second. But if you want the bank account details for Peace Now London, it's 309790. I'll read that out again. 309790 is the sort code, and the account number is 22954162. So it's 22954162, and the name on the account is well, you can put Piers Corbyn or P Corbyn brackets Peace Now London, or the other way around, Peace Now London Piers Corbyn. But whatever, that information will get you into that account, and you can put money straight in. And people, we need lots and lots. Look, think about it. We are now in a decisive time in world history, and we can win. I'll tell you why we can win. It's because interest in the main parties has crashed. People don't believe in them anymore. We're meeting people everywhere who say, look, I used to vote this or that, but I ain't going to vote. I don't trust any of them. I say, right, I am the one for you. I'm an anti-politician, if you like. I mean, I don't stand to be in the political circus and make a living out of it. I'm standing to get things done, and I've always done that. So give us money, please. As I said, basic cost to enter the race and be in the booklet for information, which is the cheapest way of putting information around London, is 25,000 quid. We need at least that again to do all the leaflets. So please, people, give. Thank you very much for that question. Any more questions that you come up with? Which yes, okay. Unless, is it from the screen or is it just something you're doing?
I only give me questions.
Okay.
I can't see the screen.
No, you can't see. Have you got any more screen questions?
Not right now. I just write these out to put the bank details.
Good. All right.
Behind
You do
us
that,
for
and
them.
we'll ask one from Victor. So Victor is going to ask you having a cup of tea now. Victor,
Yeah,
a question from you.
Piers, we hear a lot of talk now
Must be the details.
about Jews being too terrified to come to London at weekends.
Oh, what a joke.
On the Blairite Brainwashing
name as well.
Corporation.
Yes.
Politicians spouting it. Our speaker used it as an excuse for
Oh my God.
killing his Blairites torpedoes.
Our speaker, you mean the speaker in Parliament?
Exactly.
See, a lot of people don't know what you're on about with these technicalities, young man.
Well, when I was about to finish the next sentence, it would have been clear. He torpedoed a resolution in the Commons.
That's right.
Calling for peace in the Middle East, and we've even heard that Ken Livingstone, a former London mayor, has not only been branded an evil neo-Nazi anti-Semite by the Blairite Labour in name only party of Keir Starmer, but applied to join the Greens. They refused his membership on the grounds of upholding their no platform for Nazis policy.
What?
Now, given that there are no camps of Jews seeking refuge outside the M25 at weekends, what would you say is the truth behind all these scare stories?
Well, Victor, obviously there's no truth behind any of these scare stories. I mean, really, there's no truth behind it. I mean, I haven't met a Jewish person coming out to me saying they're feeling terrified or scared. I mean, I just haven't. And those marches are really laid back. They're, you know, 500,000 people even, but they're all peaceful. They're just saying they want peace now in Palestine. They're not about the big picture of everything, although a lot of people on there are very clear about the big picture of everything and will undoubtedly vote for me, undoubtedly so. But it's an interesting question, isn't it, really, Victor? Is how can the media say these things which are just so untrue and people believe them? And well, there are many lessons about that. You see, like take the climate scam. You see, they keep telling you hottest ever, this and that. Well, it's factually incorrect. And but the data is, well, not just massaged, it's fraudulently changed. I mean, they've been measuring temperatures on the ground in tarmac instead of 6 feet up and then announcing a record. Well, of course, that would be entirely different, wouldn't it? But you see, in this though, they haven't got any examples of attacks on Jewish people, as far as I can see. I mean, if someone has a fight and happens to be Jewish, then well, they couldn't label that as an attack on a Jewish person. But you know, there's nothing going on that I can see. So it's entirely made up. It's a fiction.
So, what is the possible motive then, Piers? Are they trying to create ethnic tension for Jews? And do you think it's going to have that effect if they carry on?
Yeah, well, I don't think it will get that far, but they want it to. You see, they want ethnic tension. They want to have some sort of excuse for a mass lockdown. So they, as George Galloway and others have said, they're trying to create Islam's or Muslims, or well, with ethnic minorities wedged in there, so that Guardian readers can then, you know, feel good by voting Labour and for Sadiq Khan because he represents, you know, different ethnic minorities. Now, of course, we are standing for peace now, saying, look, we're against these wars. Who is for these wars? Labour and the Tories. So Sadiq Khan, in fact, is supporting the killing of the ethnic minorities he claims to support. It's a nonsense. So we can break through the narrative, but the point you're making is they are trying to build this narrative. And, you know, attacks on Jewish people, of course, it'll be somehow be linked to, well, who done it? Must have been an Islam fanatic, you know, something like that. So, any more questions?
What about today? And you're going around asking people the responses that you're getting, you know, get Sadiq Khan out
Yes,
and get rid of the ULEZ. There's a great response from it.
absolutely. Yeah. When you chant Khan out, stop ULEZ, sign here, people were queuing up. And also, Peace Now, people signing up for that as well. I
And who
mean,
did
one
we
guy
lose?
in Richmond, a guy walked up to us and said, I'll give you a tenner. I said, what for? He said, oh, peace. And we were collecting money for Peace Now. So, you know, that attracted him directly. So, you know, the issue of peace is actually paramount. Although the practicalities of people thinking we can deliver it is, of course, more complicated. But, you know, it's just clear anyone who thinks about it, the big vote, even just for the Peace Now candidate, namely myself, would be significant. And practical things, of course, that we're talking about will become something we should do. I mean, why not have action against warmongers, just like the governments want us to have action against carbon dioxide?
Who else did we meet yesterday? We were out.
We met Brian Rose, no less, who was very friendly indeed. congratulated me for standing. He was around himself collecting signatures too. Let's see what happens. We're certainly all against Sadiq Khan. Obviously, I want people to vote for me rather than him. But let's be clear: him standing is propaganda against Sadiq Khan. I haven't seen his leaflets, but I mean, obviously, he will be against Sadiq Khan. Okay, another question, Victor.
Given that Sadiq Khan is presented as a Muslim and indeed looks like a Muslim, what's the point of people like him being in a Blairite Lino party that now has a very long history of foisting Islamophobia, having Muslims locked up without charge in places like Belmarsh, overseas torture renditions, complicity in Guantanamo Bay, and obviously only too keen to support the Zionist ethnic cleansing of Muslims in the Middle East? Why would people like him want to be Blairite party candidates? What's the motivation?
Exactly. It makes it's beggars belief, doesn't it?
Even worse, did you remember I showed you the picture of him on St. Patrick's Day?
Yes.
As a Muslim, come.
Yeah, on St. Patrick's Day, he was marching down the road with who was he marching with?
The ex-Irish president,
That's
the
right.
lady,
Yes.
and a man boy lady.
That's right, some kind of trans. But there was nobody behind him on this march. He was parading down the street with an empty space behind him. So presumably they'd booked a demonstration. I don't know. It was very strange. But if you bothered to look behind him, which is very easy, it was clear there was nobody following him at all. So it was entirely staged. But okay, the question is why? Why do we have this? Well, if he is Muslim, I mean genuinely Muslim, presumably born Muslim, but is he practicing? Why does he be part of this Zionist party? I mean, the Islamist party is getting more and more Zionist. Well, he's a cover boy. He's there to, corral, grabbing the ethnic vote. And what is this for? It's for the World Economic Forum to bring in a new world order, and they need people like him to drag people in. But it's failing. Us standing, of course, is very important because we're putting forward policies which can break their grip. But if we don't stand, it's just the circus of, Labour, Tory, Lib Dem, and so on, all supporting Israel in different ways. But when I say, don't support Jewish people, they've got a right to live. All killings. Okay, another question.
So you are suggesting then he's basically window dressing and he's going along with that for his own personal career motives?
Well, I would think so, yeah.
Well, they're all in a big group, aren't they?
Yeah.
And they're all following that agenda.
Yeah.
And what happens if they don't follow that agenda sometimes?
Well, we don't know what happens,
heart attacks.
Well, do they get killed? Or well, we know as a minimum they just get freezed out and you suddenly don't hear of these people. I mean, they are demoted. But gee, people who are into politics as a ladder, as a career, of course, towing a line is an important thing for them. It's not important for me. I'm against towing lines for a career. I'm not in politics for a career. I'm involved in order to achieve things, and that is the end of this wars and conflict. The right to drive sensibly, the right to housing, and so forth, and that requires massive changes. Revolution is organised, but we have to explain and do it.
And part of that is the shutting down of when you go from one area to the other.
Yeah, zoning.
Remember the zoning, and remember I showed you then in my area down by Mile End where the buses stop. It just stops all traffic on a.
That's right. Yeah, I think I'd do as mayor. I would review all these new junctions, all these amended junctions, and we'd have a committee of experts to get the traffic moving again instead of being blocked up. It looks like, you see, they're making junctions so they can be ready to close them down or put gates on them to keep people out of one zone and in another. Stuff like that. It's quite strange, you know,
Looks like Checkpoint
turnings.
Charlie.
Yes, well, indeed, Checkpoint Charlie's all over the place. Do you want to have a look at the screen, see what else has come through the screen? 'Cause
I can, yep.
I can't read it
Yeah,
here
yeah,
easily anyway. They're quite difficult.
Let's see.
What's your take on the Dr. Kelly issue? Do you think his death should be marked every year?
I do, yeah.
Mm.
Dr. David Kelly was, I would say, assassinated by the powers that be.
Somebody said, Piers, this is, can't really see that. I'm terrible with my eyesight. Somebody says, what about all these foreigners? Name one thing, or foreigner. All these foreigners, name one thing. What do we need all these foreigners for one thing? Now, I remember when I was with you,
Clarify, yes.
we we were across watching the King's anointment order in 1990, and we had all of these foreigners, not one of them able to speak English, all as part of security.
Yes.
So for me, I believe that what they're going to do is when they do this next lockdown with X or whatever, it won't be lockdowns, there'll be quarantines. So who will they have as the security around the edges? As we all shout and scream, we don't want you here, they won't like us when they're moving us from one area. Or
of course, because yeah, it's easier to shout to someone who isn't you, like your social group, as if they're all kind of police of your ethnicity, then more difficult. It's also more difficult for them.
And this is
The police.
worldwide.
But look, Russian Revolution, how the Tsar maintained power. He always brought in these guys with sabers from other parts, you know, Russia. They were always people who didn't relate to Russians in Moscow. They related to something from the Far East, so they were brought in. I mean, they always do that, to use different ethnic groups to do their bidding. And this is what is going on now. So that's why a lot of these people have been brought in. Absolutely.
America.
We believe in fair, you know, real refugees from actual bombings and so on have to be helped. But there's something going on involving the importing of people, like, well, many places where really there's something different going on, and they've been stuck into hotels ready for something very dark.
And then in America, what they're doing is they're arriving in at Mexico and coming across the border that way to avoid. In Ireland, the same thing. They're leaving their countries of origin with passports, and 85% of them lose them on the way.
Lose them.
So when they arrive in Ireland on the airplane,
easy to lose things, but not. That's ridiculous, isn't it? Yeah.
and quite
Well,
literally,
you see, one should say you could have an inquiry into who's here and why, who's coming and why. If there's a lot of people coming from Albania, then we ask, well, coming from Albania, because there's not a war in Albania. There's not an earthquake recently either. I mean, has to be a reason. And also, why are they coming here? Why don't they stay in France or something? I mean, what is going on and why?
there were indications in Ireland that they were sending over posters, flyers to clubs and whatever to ask them to come to Ireland if you need. Of course, people are going to come for economic.
Okay. People will come for economic reasons.
Yeah, of course.
But they have to be, you see, if someone comes to a job, you have to say, well, okay, what job have you got? Now, if it's a job sitting in a hotel waiting for a job, or a job sitting in a hotel waiting for security, you know, it's sometime in the future when there's a massive lockdown, well, that can't be accepted as a job. It means someone's just coming here and, you know, so as mayor, I would, you know, I wouldn't act, you know, disproportionately on these things. I would say, look, okay, we should investigate what is going on. The government has to explain why they've got these hotels, why these people in there, what is their plan, what is their initiative, and get them to come clean. I mean, if they're people brought here to do apple picking in the summer, well, okay. I mean, they're not though; they're in the wrong place for that. You don't need to be in central London to do apple picking or hot picking in Kent. So, you know, this has to be investigated. The Mayor of London will have many powers to investigate things. And I would also tell the police what they can do and can't do. If there's a new lockdown, I'd just tell them, no, you don't implement this, guys. We're not going to arrest anybody for not doing a lockdown. If there's a new jabbing program, no, guys, you're not going to help impose this jabbing program. Are you going to arrest some war criminals around? Well, yes. There's a certain person, Blair, otherwise known as T. Blair, which really requires a bit more justice to be distributed to him. There'll be a lot of things like this that I could do that no other candidate will even think of. So, there you go.
Well, you've got some comments here.
Okay,
Piers.
good.
Rick Reed calls on you to kick ass, Piers.
Kick ass. Well, kick ass. Well, obviously we need people in City Hall who would implement this program, and there's plenty of people there who clearly would not implement this program. But anyway, the mayor has to appoint people properly to implement the program of Peace Now and other things, obviously, which need addressing. I would end the ULEZ on day one, and that would be easy. It is in the mayor's prerogative. And where we're talking about licensing warmongers, issuing licenses like for taxis, and action as in the same scale as action against CO2, then, you know, we would check all the legal frameworks and if necessary, you know, act in whatever way is reasonable in order to implement justice.
El
Okay.
Hugo
El Bugo.
makes a point about the foreigners, which I think you've already dealt with here.
Oh, okay.
So we'll move on to PJ CNET, who says he wishes you will tour around the country again. He
Okay.
has difficulty coming to London. Can you offer him a few words of assurance?
Well, yes. No, look, I'm more than happy to go around the country again. Well, if I'm elected as mayor, I would be more than happy to go to different towns and talk about how we did it, what happened. But bear in mind, I'd probably be busy in London too. But, you know, I would certainly do that because I know it will be important rallies going on for, well, peace actions in the different towns, in the different boroughs. I mean, what is happening in every borough? You know, what is happening in, say, well, in Essex or in Colchester? You know, what military activities there? What could be stopped?
Well, Piers, we've talked about the so-called mainstream political parties and
Yep.
your opponent,
Yep.
Sadiq Khan. There's been a lot of concern about the rise of the far Islamophobic right all over the European Union. But they don't seem to talk about it much in this country.
No.
So
Well, I haven't seen any of them. Where are they? Who are? I mean, nobody's walked up to me and says I'm far Islamophobic right. I mean, what? Who? Name an organisation which is far Islamophobic
Well,
right.
would you
It's
suggest
not a setup by the other side to be far Islamophobic right.
would you suggest that perhaps people like Tommy Robinson are not managing to get a lot of support in this country because they only talk about Islamophobia when we've got a hard right Blairite party that goes in and puts the boot in, bombs babies in Baghdad, locks Muslims up, and actually starts killing
Well, of
Muslims.
course.
And obviously they've
Yeah.
taken the vote away from the far right. And then there's other people on the far right, perhaps like Nick Griffin, who actually think that this Islamophobia has gone too far. And they now support George Galloway and stick up for the Palestinians.
That is
So
so
making them to
interesting.
the left of the Blairite hard right.
That is so interesting. Yes, that they are supporting people's rights in you know a sense. I mean, Tommy Robinson, of course, he's got another name, why he has to hide under from another double-barreled name is a curious question. But you're right. You see, he's not killing and locking up Islams. It's Tony Blair and all their mates are doing that. You know, there's massacre going on in Gaza and in other parts of Palestine. But you know, that's been done by governments. It's not been done by Tommy Robinson. So, you know, by that argument, then you know who are the far right, Islamophobic, whatever. It's these governments. It is Sadiq Khan. So the idea of voting to seek being a Muslim to vote and voting for Sadiq Khan to save yourself is crazy. It is crazy. Okay, another question, sir.
Piers, some people feel there's an attack on civil liberties. The working man's right to democracy, to protest, is being gradually constrained. Law commissioners are stopping people getting access to the internet, denying them free speech. It's now become increasingly difficult to register a political party if you're outside the establishment. Do you think we're drifting towards a leadership state and the rights that the working man has achieved are being whittled away?
Well, they are, of course. That's a helpfully leading question, Victor. But yeah, look, seriously, all our rights are under frontal attack now, all of them. And the Mayor of London will be able to do something about this, which say, look, anybody involved in censorship here, well, in fact, I was going to say, perhaps you should have to have a license to censor. But no, you can't have a license to censor. There should be no censorship. The Google and so forth should get out of town if they're doing censorship. I mean, it's an illegal activity. It's against the Charter of Human Rights what they're doing. So they have to be arrested. You know, the police, Metropolitan Police, should go in to say these companies are day by day breaking human rights of free speech and expression, and they have to be called to account. I mean, we do have laws, some of which are good, but of course they're not. The good parts of laws are often not implemented. The bad parts of laws are. So we have to redress the balance and have implementation of good laws. In all the other freedoms, well, there's lots of ways they are eroding freedoms, you see. The ultra low emission zone, all the zoning in areas, the narrowing of roads, preparing to divide up cities into different zones. That is all about control and having people with their, I don't know, checkpoint Charlie pass ready to go somewhere. We don't know. But the idea of 15-minute cities is just so insane. You're told that in order for you to shop within 15 minutes, a car which you wouldn't use is not allowed to drive in or out of your zone for more than 3 days a week or something. I mean, what is this? It's not logical at all. It's just a nonsense.
Well, the ULEZ is a part of that 15 minutes.
Absolutely.
It's the beginning.
Yeah, the ULEZ is the beginning. Now, some politicians will say, "Oh, we're against ULEZ," i.e., the Tories are against ULEZ. But oh no, only they're against ULEZ in the outer boroughs. But they want to keep the ULEZ cameras. Well, what is that for? That is only to prepare for ULEZ or something similar. Now, the government will say you've got to carry on doing this or something like that. Or they will say, oh no, we're not going to do ULEZ anymore. We're going to have pay per mile everywhere. And that'll be for people in electric vehicles as well. So it'll be so fair, won't it? Be pay per mile. But hang on, you're already paying per mile when you buy petrol or buy electricity or buy diesel. You're paying per mile. That is pay per mile. So what is this about? It's all nonsense. It's about control. To make people controlled and furthermore run them into such bills that they give up vehicles altogether, and then you are reliant on public transport. And you will be controlled totally by that because public transport can be turned off. Yes, there you are.
Piers,
Any more questions on the screen?
No, none on the screen.
Okay.
No new questions.
I was going
The
to
last
ask you
guy.
about
Oh.
the resignation of the Irish president.
Ah, well, maybe you could answer it. I mean, that is a bit of a mystery. I mean, it's a
Well,
bit like Obama suddenly turning up, which people missed that earlier. Perhaps you should
the mystery basically.
tell us what do you
Yeah,
think about
so
it.
the mystery of him resigning, we had the referendum in Ireland. 80% of the people said no to changing what a woman is within inside the family, what the family unit is, and taking a woman out of the constitution as a person.
Jeez.
So no women's rights. So basically, the government pushed this forward, and there was a huge pushback. And in Ireland at the moment, it's the same with the immigration. All of these homes getting filled up with people. So there's also his replacement, supposedly, because he's not resigning from government as such. He's still going to be a politician. And his friend's going to get in. And just like, not Theresa May, what's the other one that came in momentarily before Sadiq or before Rishi?
Ah, not Theresa May.
No, what's her name?
It come to me
We
and said,
forgot her so quickly.
yes, she was there 15 minutes, wasn't she?
Liz.
Liz
Liz.
Truss, yeah,
Liz
that's the one.
Truss.
Yeah.
So
Well-
she came in and went out, and she'll be getting, what is it, £250,000 a year? So they're passing, it's the same in Ireland, they're just passing it over to somebody else who will now also get a retirement fund.
Okay, but so he resigned because it was untenable to carry on, is what you're saying, really, because the people had voted against. But what's going to happen now? I mean, are the government really going to respect the fact that men are men and women are women, and that these discriminations effectively against women's rights are wrong, or what? What are they going to accept?
So there's a statement in the Irish constitution that basically says, if the Taoiseach or any at any time resigns from office, the other members of the government shall be deemed also to have resigned from office. But the Taoiseach and the other members of the government should continue to carry on their duties until their successor shall be appointed.
Oh, that's ridiculous. God.
We were just talking earlier also about the Belgian government. For 8 months have had no government.
Yes, well, that's an attractive idea, isn't it? No government. However, this stuff in for no government, but when it's no government, you've got the civil service. Wait a minute. Who is telling the civil service what to do?
The WHO.
The WHO, the World Health Organization.
the
Yes,
ones.
that'll be the World Health Organization. Of course, it's going to be a pandemic or something, so they'll be telling them what to do. The point is, the bureaucracies are in Whitehall and every town hall ready to impose things. And I would be telling, the police that, well, they shouldn't be involved in the implementation of anything. And you see, in the end, the town halls can only do things if they're backed by the police. They're going to be told they've got to close this shop or that shop because of something. Well, okay. I would say, no, you don't go down there. You don't get in that. In which case, people power would resolve things, like it eventually did in the cinema club in South Wales, where it was closed downs and then reopenings and closed downs and reopenings, but people power in these situations will win. And that's what you have to be ready for. If there's a lockdown, what to do is take to the streets. Okay.
Piers, when you
Yes, sir.
leave your office tonight,
Yes. Yeah, we're doing this
you're
in my
probably
office.
well aware
Mhm.
that it's becoming increasingly difficult to walk along the street without falling over or tripping over a homeless person,
Well,
working class poor person trying to get a night's sleep, having struggled to find a cardboard box to curl up in and keep warm.
I know.
We all know that some of these people die of hypothermia in the winter time. Meanwhile, I'm sure you're also aware that Blairite councils all over London are demolishing affordable council housing estates doing deals with property developers who develop properties that are only advertised in foreign countries like Hong Kong to property speculators who keep them empty in the hope of making a quick buck capital appreciation.
Mhm.
You've also mentioned earlier on the ULEZ situation, whereby unless you can afford a more expensive car and so much, you can't drive along the streets of London anymore.
Mm.
Does this add up, in your view, to a conspiracy by the Blairite and the contratative parties to keep ordinary working class people off the streets of London, indeed off the housing estates in London, and ethnically cleansing the entire city of working class ordinary people, in your view?
Well, completely. I mean, I think there's even a bigger picture involved here. You see, to bring in a new world tyranny, they do have to break working class strength and organisation. Now, a lot of the working class strength and organisation was in housing estates. And I think the 1992 World Global Earth Summit, or whatever it was called, where they introduced what they called regeneration of working class communities to help them, was actually just a plan to destroy them. And everywhere you've looked where there's regeneration, so-called, to get buildings up to scratch, it's actually destruction of community, privatization, uh, moving out people and moving in, well, better off people in cities. That's what it's about. And specifically, the Blairites, despite their talk in support of council housing, and they build council houses. Yes, London Borough of Southwark here builds council houses, but they destroy more than they build. And I was involved. Well, the reason why I left the Labour Party was over these things. They decided to demolish the Aylesbury estate when David Miliband turned up there to tell them to trounce the ballot. There'd been a vote where people didn't vote to have what Tony Blair wanted them to vote. Tony Blair wanted them to vote for a housing association to take over, and 73% of the people said, no, we don't want that. We want to keep it with the council, because well, however bad the council might be, at least we have security of tenure and we have some semblance of democracy over what the council does. And they decided to destroy that. They demolished about more than a third of the estate, but it's now stopped because they've made so many changes, lots of things going on, so many changes to the plans that this is now frozen. Tony Blair wanted the whole estate demolished by 2015. I was a key campaigner right at the start, and now it's stuck. So I'm really very pleased that this plan is ended. And that we're pressing, obviously, all the campaigners are pressing for refurbishment of the properties, not knocking them down. And that has to be basically the thing everywhere. But the Blairites are doing deals with property developers to destroy community and put in money-making enterprises. But a bigger issue, even perhaps than housing in London, is that London is the money laundering capital of the world. And that means that properties are actually going up in value as part of money laundering. There's properties in Oxford Street, a block there, which properties are changing hands for £6 million each, 2-bedroom flats, £6 million. But they stay empty. People aren't buying them to live in. They're buying them as an investment because the value will go up as long as shortages are maintained. This is criminal. So I would say that these people who own these things have to be called to account. When there's anonymous owners, we would confiscate these properties. That's what I would intend to do legally. And when we do know the owners, again, we'd say, well, okay, you want to keep this empty, you've got to pay this, this, and this. Loads of money. In other words, we'd force them to rent them or confiscate them, or let's say sequester them. They would be compensated by the basic value of the flat or whatever, it would be a legal process. And people would move in who become secure council tenants. That's what we need.
So Piers, Karen asked, as a
Yes.
meteorologist, do you
Yeah.
have any opinion on the forthcoming pole shift?
Well, yeah, look, no, people. Pole shifts are slow things. There's all sorts of people on the internet talking about the pole shift, but they don't like happen next week. They take a long time. Is there a pole shift going on? Well, there's always motion of the poles, so I can't say. By pole shift, it essentially means a flip, I suppose, is what she's talking about. The pole is moving all the time, the magnetic pole, that is. But then the direction, the whole thing changes. Although I think most of the time the Earth has been in one direction, whereas the sun changes its pole exactly every 11 years, or on average every 11 years, equal amounts of time with up and down, i.e. north and south. And you count the sunspot cycles, so the odd number sunspot cycles is one way, and the even numbered is in another direction, and they have better or worse connections with the Earth's magnetic field in those circumstances. Anyway, I'm diverging, but look, don't worry about the pole shift because somebody's probably exaggerated stuff in order to get hits on the internet. But the details of Sun-Earth magnetic links are very important, and those do enable us to predict weather extremes and even increased risk of earthquakes. And come to weatheraction.com and get forecasts about that stuff.
There's another question. Could Richard Courtney be someone you could rely on?
Richard Courtney is well, I knew a Richard Courtney for a long time ago. Which Richard Courtney is that?
I'm not too sure. Have a little look.
It's a friend of mine from Cornwall called Courtney. He was a great guy. I'm not sure if that's what he means, or is it
We have a
some political activist? Better have clarification on that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I did know a Richard Courtney involved in the. I'm 90% sure he's Richard.
He is.
In the internet group on of climate skeptics, which had international conferences and all stuff like that.
Piers, listening
Is
to
it?
what you've been saying this evening,
Mhm.
it would be understandable for many people to see you as a working class hero.
Okay, well,
Indeed,
that's nice.
many people may have seen your younger brother as a
Yeah,
working
indeed,
class
absolutely.
hero. And many people may say that having successfully fought off a counter coup by Blairites and the establishment and the media against him, he somehow or other managed to snatch defeat from the jaws of inevitable victory. Do you think that there are any lessons to be learned from what happened to your brother? If so, what are they, and have
Well,
you learned them?
there's a lot of lessons to be learned. Well, I think the prime thing is you have to know where your so-called friends really are, and you have to defend your real friends. And if you don't, you will lose. And of course, Jeremy was tricked or cajoled or whatever into, well, first of all, doing a U-turn on Brexit. And that was the end. That was undoubtedly the end. The anti-Semitism lies were also part of it, but they were a completely minor part because a lot of people didn't believe it and still don't believe it. Him doing a U-turn on Brexit under the persuasion of John McDonnell was the beginning of the end. Otherwise, then there was the various purges where Jeremy didn't defend Ken Livingstone, for example, didn't defend Mark Wadsworth. And I met Mark Wadsworth quite recently, in fact, at the Julian Assange demo. And he was still distressed, well, obviously distressed about it all. I mean, his whole life was dedicated to anti-racism, and then he just gets kind of discarded.
So we have a
So Jeremy getting rid of his friends, or rather, no, allowing them to go without a fight in the hope that somehow he would get support from people in between him and the other side. I don't know. It didn't work anyway. And I would never do that.
So we have Richard S. Courtney. Courtney is a member of the editorial board of Energy and Environment, a journal known for publishing the papers of climate change skeptics.
Oh, excellent. That's the one. Right on. Great guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they're saying, is he red? Is he, I presume, red as in
READ, like in reading, or red as
no,
in
RED as in communist.
is in common. I wouldn't say that. I think he's just a,
Yeah.
you know, he wants science. Science has to be evidence-based. If it's not evidence-based, it's not science. And there's a lot of models around which are not science, and they exuded from Imperial College of Science and Technology. Well, it's a bit of a misnomer there now. Anti-science comes out of a lot of mathematical models, unfortunately. Any more?
No, not at the moment. No questions that I can see as of yet.
Well, when we've been on about an hour, we should probably stop because people might be getting bored. But we've got, how many we got?
21.
21. Oh, I see that. That's
Would
nice.
you like to make some closing comments, Piers? Sum up?
Yes, I should think so. I said, look, please, people, this period coming up, we can win the mayor elections. It sounds kind of crazy, but look, what's happening is we can break the narrative they're trying to create of, you know, everybody versus everybody else. I mean, everybody versus Muslims, and join that camp to be break it by the Peace Now initiatives and actions to enforce peace, right? That's what we would do. And that cuts across the for and against Islam, because we are for everybody's right to live. And it would mean that if you think about it, or you don't have to think very far, Sadiq Khan defending ethnics when in fact he's involved in killing machine to kill them abroad is a nonsense. Do not vote for Sadiq Khan for anything. And we know loads and loads of people in ethnic minorities who don't like Khan because of the way he operates himself, and specific matters concerning the closure of businesses which have arisen from ultra low emission flow. So let's be clear. Summary: we can win around the Peace Now campaign and by record on fighting for real people's rights. We will destroy, close down ULEZ on day one. We would review the congestion zone, reduce the charges in congestion zone, and I think it make no difference. And then we could reduce that, reduce parking charges, make it easier to move around London. We would review all sorts of things about health and housing, and I've discussed that quite a bit. And I would urge you people, please go online, go to the donor box that I mentioned, which can be found straight away on the Telegram group, Peace Now London. Go in there, give generously, and also give directly to the bank account, to this one. We need lots and lots of money, please. And it's you that needs the money. It's not me that needs the money directly. You need the money for us to win. And if we don't get there, don't have enough for deposits and campaigns, and think about it, what's going to happen? We'll have another circus. World Health Organization will be promoted. They'll prepare the way for a new lockdown, for disease X, everything. We have to go up to the highest level we can while being linked to everything on the ground. The great choice before us is accountability versus globalized fascism, or hyper crazy dictatorship, communism, whatever you want to call it, but it's definitely bad. It's accountability versus globalization. That's what we want. So please
That's what we're talking about.
go there, do what you can, and
That should go down well. with the
Send
message.
text inquiries.
Exactly.
You can text support at peacenowlondon.uk, for example. If you've got specific inquiries, go to there. I'll repeat that. Support at peacenowlondon.uk. And there's bank details. We can win. Please, guys, give whatever you can and pass this on. I know there's not many people listening at this point, but we know this will be repeated. Lots of people are going to see this video, and you personally give what you can, support in any way you can, and get someone else to do so. And I will end by our usual slogan.
Sure.
Oh, this one. You wanted to see
Yeah,
this
yeah.
madness from the Sadiq Khan.
Can't vote.
Look at that street behind him. See, they've fenced off a whole street for a march, and it's a march of zero.
St. Patrick's Day march.
It's a St. Patrick's Day. So where's all these Irish people following him?
I don't think there are.
An ethnic group. I mean, they're not. They're clearly not. He probably didn't want them to come in case he got attacked by them or shouted at. I mean, who knows? But clearly the photographer couldn't be a photographer on his side. Otherwise, they would have taken a photo not showing a blank street.
No, but
Anyway, people, if I was marching down there, there'd be throngs behind. Okay, so we'll end on there. Please join us, support us. Peace Now London. Resist, defy, do not comply.
Resist, defy, do
Do
not
not
comply.
comply.
It's good once, it's good twice.
And it's good thrice. Resist, defy, do not comply. Thank you.
Oh, well.
End stream. So end stream. Oh, not yet. No, do it there. Do